Attention to brief. Welcome to the briefing room. I spent over 20 years briefing senior executives, senior warfighters, admirals, generals, and tacticians in the Pentagon, the Navy Annex, and in combatant commands all over the world. My name is Matt Bowman, and I am your host. I am your co-host with Dr. Tyrone Taborn for The Briefing Room, a show by warriors for warriors. What we aim to do in this show is to bring you the best warfighters, the trailblazers, the pioneers who've operated at the top of human performance throughout their lifetime. From these stories and these experiences, you will gain tips and nuggets that will help you live your best life. But before we interview our guest today, we want to go around the world in 7 minutes. So what's going on in your world this week? In North America, last night, President Donald J. Trump delivered one of the longest State of the Union addresses in U.S. history. The bipartisan, bicameral legislature was there, but the highlights included, obviously, a conversation about immigration, a conversation about national security, and a conversation about affordability, a national security imperative that affects us all. He also talked about artificial intelligence and the role of STEM. And as a STEM-based organization, that resonated with all of us. But there were some fireworks, and let's get to the fireworks. Well, first, over 40 Democrats decided not to attend. So as you're looking at a State of the Union and you look to the right of the camera, you can see the empty seats. Definitely not business as usual. The second fireworks was Democratic Congressman Al Green held up a sign, and the sign said, "Black people are not apes." And that, of course, led to his expulsion from the chamber and also added to the drama of this 2026 State of the Union. Representative Omar from Minnesota, who is a Somali American, added an additional layer of fireworks during the discussion as the president was talking about $19 billion of fraud that has happened, alleged fraud that's happened in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, in part involving the Somali community. She responded with liar, murderer, other words. And then the last part of the fireworks was the recognition of two different groups of people. One was the men's gold medal hockey team. And then for us as warriors, it was Captain Royce Williams, the Navy pilot who has waited over 50 years to receive his Congressional Medal of Honor. And then, of course, Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Stover, who was the lead pilot in the operation in Venezuela, where President Nicolas Maduro was captured and then brought to New York. So Chief Warrant Officer 5, Stover was there. He did receive his Medal of Honor. He was seriously wounded while flying a Chinook helicopter, shot 3 to 4 times, still continued the mission. He extended himself to continue the mission and then was recognized for the medal that he earned. In terms of the Navy captain, naval aviation, Captain Williams was in Korea, a mission over 50 years ago, so secret that he didn't even tell his own wife. But he held on to all of our classification guides, shot down numerous aircraft, was himself seriously wounded in that dogfight. And so as a nation, we pause to recognize the Medal of Honor for those two brave warriors. Now, as we head down south to South America, what's going on this week in the lands down under? The big things are that CK Hutchison, a Chinese-owned company at the Panama Canal, was recently booted out of the Panama Canal. Please note that those two ports that they controlled were not necessarily along the Panama Canal, but at the entrances and the exits into both the Atlantic and the Pacific. But the removal of Chinese influence in South America is something that is going on now. And as warriors, you need to be aware of it. It's not just Panama, though. In Peru, there is a Chinese-built port that sits on the tip of the South American continent, which has huge strategic implications for us because right now they have merchant ships, but there's nothing that precludes them from bringing Chinese military vessels into that port. They're located in Peru. As we go to Europe, yesterday marked the 4th anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. 4 years, 25,000 young men and women killed every month in that conflict. And so yesterday, the European Union and others pledged a loan of $106 billion to continue the fight. And I think the big takeaway is this. 4 years ago, it was predicted that the Ukraine would fall in 3 days. In 3 days. It has now been over 1,200 days. And so as all of us know, and all the CEOs and students should know, is that when you enter into a conflict, you never know which way. Will it go right? Will it go left? You know, we talk about the fog of war. There's also the uncertainty of war. And so that is what's going on in Europe. As we roll down to the Middle East, we have a naval armada that's gathering in the Middle East and in the Eastern Mediterranean. What's going to happen in Iran? I don't think anyone knows. The ball is in the Iranians' court. President Trump has made it very clear that he is not against using force to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear capability. A naval force that large has not gathered since 1998 when I was in Desert Fox and we were taking out Saddam Hussein's aerial defense capabilities, their IADs, their lines of communications. And so if you look and read the tea leaves, we have a naval armada that is gathering, and it's the largest since 1998. And then Africa and Asia. A recent report came out that said 85% of the babies born in 2026 will be born in 2 continents, Asia and Africa. So what does that mean for those of us who are in the United States, those of us who have children or grandchildren and the young people? It means that the population of the world is going to continue to be based in those 2 continents. And as the world shrinks and technology brings us closer together, if the United States is going to stay the greatest nation that has ever been created, then we need to make sure that all of the American children are smart in STEM, are smart in world affairs, and can operate in a global world that is increasingly shrinking. So there you go. That's it. Around the world in 7 minutes. We're going to go to a quick commercial where we showcase what happens at the Becoming Everything You Are conference. We just celebrated our 40th. Dr. Taborn was there. Admirals, generals, CEOs, services were there. It was a great time had by all. Take a look.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, Baya has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for Baya 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. Baya, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
Welcome back to the briefing room. I'm your host, Matt Bowman, 20 years flying jets off for aircraft carriers, and my co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn, who has over 50 years of being in the fight to bring STEM and STEM education and STEM excellence to the United States. Our guest today on the briefing room is a warrior and a legend. He is a U.S. Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. He is a Vietnam veteran extraordinaire with incredible heroism, and he's also an entrepreneur, an executive. He ran the eighth largest company, Black-owned company in the world at one time, and he continues to give back. So his life is a testimony of two things, of excellence and of service. So with that, welcome to the briefing room, Mr. Sid Taylor.
How are you, Matt?
Welcome, Sid. Welcome. I tell you, sir, it was, I was eager. This month we've had Rear Admiral Larry Chambers, the first African-American to command a carrier. We've had Vice Admiral Walt Davis, the second African-American to command a carrier. And we had Vice Admiral Dave Brewer, who was, in addition to being a warfighter and a warrior, was the superintendent of LA Unified, one of the largest school districts in the world. And now, as we end the month, the Navy could not end the month without having a Marine. So welcome, sir.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the invite. And I'm glad to share whatever insight I can provide, to audience. And I'm glad to be here.
Well, listen, Sid, I'm one of those guys, you know how I do. I just jump right in it. So there's three kind of big questions. What does it take for all those parents and grandparents out there to make a Sid Taylor? Tell us about your grandparents. Tell us about your early childhood. We want to go all the way back to the beginning.
Well, boy, I'm trying to do all of this in 30 minutes, but I'll do it the best I can. I was born to a Baptist minister in Vicksburg, Mississippi. I had 5 brothers, 1 sister, so it's 7 of us. My father sent us to a Catholic school. Him being a Baptist minister, so can you imagine? Mass all week and church on Sundays. But I say that, but it was pivotal in terms of how I've led my life, because I feel today that having a religious background and being a praying man is one of the things that got me through Vietnam.
Wow.
Wow. Because we all were 18, 19 years old, just teenagers, and I wasn't in any glorious position. I wasn't an officer. I was a M60 machine gunner, and I was, in a place called Quang Tri, and that's right up around the DMZ, the demilitarized zone in Vietnam. And you know what walking point is? Well, you talk about a guy that walked point, and one of the scariest things you can do. But when you're 18, 19 years old and you were trained, and as a Marine, we felt that we were invincible, and we did what we had to do, and got through it. But I can really say that it changed my life forever.
Well, I've had the opportunity to speak to many veterans from the Vietnam conflict, and I tell you, your stories and your experiences as a fellow warrior and comrade in arms. I can't wait to get to that point of your journey. How was high school? Because I want to drill down. I want to get to. I get Baptist bringing with the Catholic schooling. But what about high school? How was that for you? Because high school is such a tough time period for so many people. How was high school for you? And what are some of the values that your parents or your grandparents taught you? If you only had 3, what are the 3 values that you learned from your grandparents or your parents that prepared you for the Marine Corps?
Well, first, the prayer part. Being a praying, person, my father was very strict about that. And making sure that, you try to live a life of discipline. And one of those major things that he focused on was no drinking and no smoking and no drugs. And to this day, I'll be 78 years old this year. I've never had a drink in my life. I've never smoked, and I have never done any kind of drugs in my entire life, and I'm a Vietnam combat veteran. And a lot of us came back, hooked on drugs and all those kind of things. To your point about high school, we went to a Catholic school called St. Mary's Catholic School. Now, our classes were very small, and so in a place like Vicksburg, Mississippi, we're very small town, and in the 10th grade, the school shut down. And I had to go my last 2 years, my junior and senior year, to a school called Rosa E. Temple High School. And so my last 2 years were in high school was spent at Rosa E. Temple. And give you an example, my high school class for my freshman and sophomore year, it was 22 of us.
What?
Yes. And when I graduated from Rosa E. Temple High, it was 225 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, that will give you kind of a contrast there. But, with that journey, I learned so much. And let me just say this, that we were very protected at our Catholic school. And what it did by going to Rosa E. Temple High, it opened up so many opportunities. It opened up a situation where I made so many friends. In fact, right now I'm on the planning committee, and we're planning our 60th class reunion on August the 7th and 8th. And
Now,
so,
was it a segregated school? Is this after desegregation, or in Catholic world, did it matter?
no, absolutely not. We didn't go to school with white people at the time. Unfortunately, everything was segregated. When I came up, we drank out of fountains that said colored only. We went to bathrooms that said color only, and we had to go to restaurants. You had to go through the back door. I mean, I'm serious. That was the years where I came from in the 60s. All it's changed now, obviously, but back during that time. But let me just say this: we just didn't know any better. I mean, we had to, we didn't really know. I think you hear this, this kind of, characterization where you didn't know you were poor. We really didn't know we were poor.
Okay.
Because we had the love and we had the outreach my father and my mom, we had a wraparound family environment, so to speak. We never went hungry. We had dinner together every day, and every evening we homework and all those kind of things. And my father and mom, they administered, the oversight for us, and I didn't appreciate it at the time. In fact,
Is that what you call it, Sid? Is that what you call it, oversight?
yeah, getting that homework and doing what you're supposed to do and those kind of things. You don't appreciate it until you get older, making you get your homework and being studious, with your studies and those kind of things. So, but for the most part, I had a very wholesome upbringing, and I think that is, Massey wrote a book. I don't know if you read it. It says, "Who you are depends on where you were and when." And the basis of his book, we are all shaped by what he called our C's, significant emotional events. Those are the things that shape all of us and make us who we are. The death of a parent, the death of a pet, the death of a relative, war. All of those things shape us as individuals, and all of us different, but all of us are shaped by our C's, our SEEs.
Sid, I'm gonna foot stomp right there.
Okay.
And those who've been in any sort of for the audience, when you're in a military school and they foot stomp, it is a signal that is something that you have to take away. And so, Sid, your point about significant emotional events shaping each and every one of our lives. I just think that that has got to be a takeaway that we let soak in. And so with that, I'm also going to go to a commercial about our career day, where we expose college students and high school students to the best careers so that they have an idea of what profession they want to go to. And then we'll come back, continue with our conversation about significant emotional events.
Okay.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at Bayer. Become everything you are.
All right, welcome to back to the briefing room. I'm your host, Matt Bowman, my co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn, and our guest today is Mr. Sid Taylor, owner and CEO one time of the 8th largest Black-owned business in the world, a Vietnam vet, and what the young people would call an OG, a man full of wisdom. When we left, we were talking about significant emotional events, and Mr. Taylor was telling us that every person is shaped in their lives by the SEE, the significant emotional events. So Sid, I want to jump back and right where we left off. So here you are, a young person going through the segregated South of Mississippi in Vicksburg, not too far from Natchez, 2 hours away from Jackson. At that time, because we have many young people watching this show, what did you think you would do with your life? And then talk to us about how you got to Vietnam and the rest of the story.
Yes, and like most young people, you have your aspirations. You see things, sports, but you also see, your parents and what they do and the folks around you. You see your teachers and those are some of the kind of things that shape your thought process, what you want to be, and then it's a matter of having the exposure, from your teachers and those kind of things, and making sure that you, I'm going to call, hang around with the right people and not the wrong people, because that happens too many times where young people hang around with the wrong crowd and end up with their lives going in a different direction that they would have hoped to. And so I can't sit here and say that I knew that I wanted to be the Sid Taylor that I am today. What I did know is I wanted to grow, educate myself, and be self-sufficient. And also, one of the things, just for myself, is to be a good person. And live and let live. I mean, one of the things we were taught, especially at the Catholic school, about the golden rule: treat others as you would be treated. And to this day, I still try to do that. Not perfect at it, but I tell you what, you want to call it a C. That was a C that was instilled in me. And the thing about that C, it has stayed with me all my life. And no matter what I do, who I interact with, I always try to be considerate of the other person's viewpoints and those kind of things, and make sure that, that I don't come off as being uncaring, and make sure that person feels comfortable, so that, you don't give a person, a situation where they feel like, you don't understand them, or you don't care about them. I think, we live in a world where, all of us, we all are shaped by our feelings, and feelings are so important, and making us feel good about ourselves, our productivity, and having interactions with people, especially folks you have interactions with daily. It is so important to stay grounded and to make sure that person, feels comfortable talking with you. And a lot of that onus is on you and how you handle yourself and handle others.
Well, that as parents, I think that I'm going to take that as a lesson, even as I deal with my own children and the other children that I mentor, is really taking that moment to take a pause and add that emotional intelligence about the significant emotional events. Make sure I minimize the number of significant emotional events that I put in other people's lives. So I just think, Sid, that is just a great nugget to take away.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you graduated high school. It's 1960 something.
66. Mm-hmm.
66. 1965. They're talking about the U.S. military is sending Black men on the front lines in infantry to die, and it's a horrible place. You got all sort of civil unrest as the civil rights movement is really gaining speed. The anti-war movement is kind of going on in the background. And here you are, this young man in Mississippi. What happens next?
Well, 68 was a pivotal year in our country. The year, several things happened. Dr. King was assassinated in April. My father passed away on May 18th. He actually did some of the marches as one of the Black Southern ministers with Dr. King, and he passed away. That really affected him. A month later, he passed away. And then, as you recall, Robert Kennedy was assassinated, in California, and so that's the year after Vietnam. So 1968. When you talk about significant emotional events, I mean, I can't tell you how that brings everything home right there, because those were significant emotional events for myself. And and excuse me, those things shaped me, in a manner where I think about it every day. That particular year, because it was so pivotal in my life and my life's journey. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I remember when we after our training as a Marine, and I'll tell you the story real quick. I never forget this. I remember it like it was yesterday. We stopped in Hawaii on the way to Vietnam, and we stopped. We went to a hangar, and there was a gunnery sergeant that had done 3 tours in Vietnam. And here we are, starry-eyed Marines, ready to go fight, and just ready to do whatever we wanted to do. And he said, "Look, I'm not going to give you guys a long speech." He says, "Look, I want you to look to your right. I don't want you to look to your left." He said, "Some of you have to come back." Talk about SEEs was a significant emotional event for me, because that's exactly what happened. A lot of my friends, not necessarily the ones that was on my right or left, but as part of my company, didn't come back. I did. and I'm blessed to have come back. And so, you know, we got there, and one of the first things that we had an assignment. I'll tell you the story real quick here. Is we had to go and a truck pulled up, and our job was to unload was on the truck. Well, we didn't know, and they didn't tell us. Well, it was nothing but body bags with dead Marines, and you had occasions. Some of them weren't totally zipped up, and you know, seeing half faces half blown off, and some of the bags were just full of limbs and those kind of things, and you can't prepare yourself for that. You know, it was a shock to my system. I still see it today. But you know, there was just, you know, one of the many things that you talked about war. And you know, there's a saying that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. And I knew it as a kid, but I never really knew what it meant. The term war is hell. I never knew what it meant until I went to Vietnam, because it is exactly that. But having said all that, you know, we did what we had to do. Our job was to keep the North Vietnamese right around what's called the DMZ, the militarized zone, which here we call the Mason-Dixon line, which separates the North from the South. And our job as a 3rd Marine Division, our job was to keep the North Vietnamese from, if you ever heard of the Ho Chi Minh Trail, they use the Ho Chi Minh Trail to transport supplies to their troops. What we call the NVA, the North Vietnamese Army, and they were the enemy. And our job was to keep them from transporting, you know, supplies, you know, to their troops. And so that was our mission there, and that's the mission that we had and that we had to carry out. And lost a lot of good young. My youngest comrade was he was only 17. His parents allowed him to sign up, and he was only 17. And I still think about him today. But I lost a lot of. We were only 18, 19-year-old kids, you know, and just think about it. We couldn't vote. We were old enough to vote. We weren't old enough to drink illegally. Not that I did it, but you know, but we think about that. And I tell young people about that now when I go into schools and talk about, because they want to know about Vietnam, because their grandparents were Vietnam veterans, or their grandfathers, whatever, Vietnam veterans, and I let them know that fact. You know, that we weren't allowed. You know, you weren't even allowed to drink, or you weren't allowed to vote, but you could go and die for your country. You know, and so. So some of them can't fathom, you know, that scenario, but that's a true statement. But long story made short, I learned so much, you know, as a Marine. As you said, once a Marine, always a Marine. I've taken the things that I learned as a Marine, the leadership skills, you know, the go-get-em attitude, and that's how I lived my life. And I go after everything as it's a mission, and I stay dedicated to that mission until I accomplish the mission, and that's kind of my forte, if you will.
Well, you know, Sid, I want to thank you for sharing with us and with the briefing room viewers such a powerful tale of your experience and sharing of your experience. So I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to kind of come down 10,000. We're going to go to a commercial where we talk about Career Day. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some more Vietnam experiences. And then we're going to talk about what happens after Vietnam. Stay tuned.
Okay.
calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at BEA. Become everything you are.
Welcome back to the briefing room. My name is Matt Bowman, and I'm here with my special guest, Mr. Sid Taylor. During our last segment, we were talking about Vietnam, about the experiences of 17, 18, and 19-year-old Americans in the DMZ, in the demilitarized zone, separating the North and South. We talked about the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and we talked about what life is like as an 18-year-old fighting and seeing your friends die for your country. And so, Sid, I want to go back and just kind of round out the Vietnam experience. And for those who've never put on the uniform and never worn the cloth of the nation, what are some other takeaways? Dogged determination, treating life as a mission. Any other takeaways from your Vietnam experience?
Yeah, and I can tell you that I had the foresight to recognize this, because it wasn't until afterwards, after leaving Vietnam and really thinking about the impact that our presence there had on the Vietnamese people. We treated them so bad, because I just can remember, our attitude, and I'm speaking from a combat standpoint. When we lost one of our own, we just wanted to get back. And we did some things I'm still ashamed about today. And you just live that down. And so, and what it does, I can do is speak from my own perspective. Living the rest of my life for forgiveness. For the things. And so what it has taught me is you have to stay grounded, to stay self-centered, and make sure, as I said before, you're mindful of other people's feelings and try to do the best you can to lift people up that are tearing them down. And I know, there are things that happen in your life, and you have to handle them as they come to you. But at the same time, it is important to make sure you don't overreact and go to the lowest point and try to take the high road, so to speak. And so that's not always easy, but it's something that if it's ingrained in you, what it do is, to try and make sure that you use, as George Bush coined, being kinder and gentler. So one of the takeaways from Vietnam for me is to be kinder and gentler, as a person. I would, before I forget it, let you talk about STEM. In 2014, I was awarded the Detroit STEM Award for engineering.
Okay.
So I wanted to let you know. 2014, yeah, it was a real big event, because out of all the Michiganders, I was I was awarded the STEM award for the year 2014. They give out one once a year to one person, and I won that STEM award.
Well, Sid, I'm gonna tell you, we're now at the 40-minute mark, and we have, we said we're gonna get through everything. So what I want to do now is I want to talk about. So you're in Vietnam. How did you get out of Vietnam? What happened that brought you back to America?
Well, something that I've been married to my wife, for 54 years this year, and I've never even told her about all the details that she knows that I talk about a lot. But for this house, I could say that we were firefighting, and there were times that I walking point means the person front and you be the target, and that's one of the scariest things that I did when I was in Vietnam, and we, what we said is that's the reason they send you there when you're 18 and 19, because you don't know any better. But long story short, on this particular day, we a helicopter had been shot down. We go and try to rescue, the pilot, and so we were dispatched to go and rescue him, and we got ambushed, and it was only a platoon of us, and we just overwhelmed. And long story made short, 7 of us survived. When I won't tell you about all the, but long story made short, the last thing I remember is they popped me in my leg, with the the substance that knocks you out, and to deal with the pain. And when I woke up, I was in Yokosuka, Japan.
Wow.
And that was 17 hours later. And I stayed there almost a month recovering, and they decided to send me back to Great Lakes, Illinois, which is the naval base. The Marine Corps is the Department of the Navy, and so I was shipped back to Great Lakes, Illinois, and I stayed there until I was discharged. I was in 1969, and so that's the story. My tour again. When you talk this, your C's, significantly emotional events. So that in and of itself, I think brings that point home about C's, those significantly emotional events, because those events in Vietnam shaped me, the person, and again, every human being, there is no human being that's not shaped by their SEEs, because all of us have them.
That's right.
And they're different for everyone. Every single, almost, and this is just my perspective, it's like a fingerprint. It's different for everybody, because a lot of C's that happen to people, you don't even know it. And you can cause a person to have a C. For instance, if you're a bully, being bullied, kids, committing suicide and those kind of things, because guess what? They haven't been emotionally affected by something or someone. Some C, one of those C's have affected them to the point where they didn't want to live anymore. So and that's a worst case scenario. but just for normal people. I don't care whether you're a billionaire or whether you are homeless. Everybody have their C's.
Hmm. I love it. Love it. So Sid, I know your story. I want our audience to know your story. So you're now in Detroit. This section I'm calling automotive. So in the next 5 minutes, I want to get the automotive story that took you from being a young black boy, man-child in the promised land in Vicksburg, to the rice paddies of Vietnam, to Motown, the Motor City, working in an automotive plant. So 5 minutes,
Okay.
let's hear that part.
Okay, real quick. I returned from Vietnam. General Motors, 22 years with General Motors, and long story short, I did a lot of things at GM. Ended up running all the bus plant. I had a lot of folks working for me. Between there, I don't have time to long story short.
And then production, Sid, I'm going to pause you 1 second there. Production, I want to clean up his audio. So Sid, the audio is kind of going in and out, but they got to hear this automotive story. This is an incredible story.
Yeah. So I spent 2 years there, and when I here had lunch, and I and doing all that, I got my education and so I put a consortium together of financiers. I sold my stock. I had my stock, since I started. I took the stock $84.56 a share, and I went to General Motors, and this was all done in confidence and in confidentiality. And I went to the state of Michigan. They gave me $500,000, and General Motors gave me $500,000. And I leveraged that to purchase my first stamping company, and that's what I had to do. And I still was in 1989, and I ran a steel company that became the 8th largest company in America. Black that can all be. And I stayed there for until I retired.
I tell you, Sid, that is incredible. I mean, I think that the devil out of hell must have come and be like, and has this kind of warbled. But for the audience, 22 years in General Motors. In 1989, he gets a couple $100,000 from the state, a couple $100,000 from the bank, and cobbles together a couple $1 million. He buys his company, retires after 22 years and being the plant manager, which is, for anybody in Detroit, that's kind of the end all be all, but not for Sid Taylor. Being a plant manager is not enough. He wants to be the guy who's running the whole ball of wax, and he buys a company that ends up being the 8th largest Black-owned company in the world at that time. And so, Sid, listen, my hat is off to you. My hat is off to your wife for letting you leave your good automotive job and start an entrepreneurial venture. I don't know how she has that kind of faith, because, I mean, when you're a plant manager, you probably have hundreds of employees that work for you. I don't know, thousands. I don't even know how big a plant is, but at least hundreds of employees that work for you. So hopefully the audio will come in. I want to capture for the CEOs the nuggets of wisdom that you would have for anyone who's making a transition, and then what wisdom do you have for anyone who's leading high performance teams?
Well, real quickly, first of all, it sounds like Jay, but look, and I tell young people all the time, I said, you really do have to dream. You really do. You have to dream, and but you also want to have a passion for something, because what happens as we get older, you start to hone in on where your forte is. And mine was automotive, mine was manufacturing, and that was my forte. And everybody eventually develops a forte. You stay here long enough, you develop that forte based upon your experiences and those kinds of things. And then you have to stop yourself as just an employee, but as an employer. And that's the way I saw myself. I journal working for him because he wasn't mine. I wanted to be king, right? The only way to do that is to be a CEO. And but the responsibility comes on that. And treating people properly and providing opportunity to them and families, and, running an organization that's respectful. People that come into work. And I for 26 years, and retired in 20, sold my company and then retired in 20. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I, had over 500 employees, 7 plants in 5 states. And I went to funerals. I helped people get off of drugs. I helped moms. I loaned money to employees that have been bad situations. I do all kinds of things.
So Sid, then is it suffice to say, 500 employees, 6 states, multiple locations for this business, running a multi-million-dollar, tens of millions of dollars enterprise. What I hear you saying is that the relationship still mattered. You went to funerals. You helped people get off drugs. You changed lives.
I did.
I just want to salute you for that. For those entrepreneurs out there who are building their companies and building their brands, I think Sid's words really resonate. Finding something that you're passionate about, continuing to dream, never losing that kind of that young-minded approach of dreaming, and then having the discipline to do the hard work. So Sid, you did all of that, and then after that, after the business side is over, I know that you still continue to give. And so I hope that this internet connectivity in Detroit, I'm gonna have to talk to y'all's mayor in Detroit, because y'all need different internet. I want better internet in Detroit, one of America's great cities. But I know that you do at least 5 things in service. And then I'm going to turn it back over to you to have the last word, and I hope it goes through. Number 1, when we were doing the USDA $2.2 billion initiative to get money into the hands of farmers who had been discriminated against, all kinds of farmers, you were one of the first calls that I made. You ran for the Windsor Group, the entire Midwest region, impacting thousands of farmers, Hmong farmers, white farmers, black farmers, urban farmers. So that's one thing that you did. And you coming from Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Dr. Willie Taylor and Paul and all those guys. I mean, you always made Mississippi look good. You also work with the National Veterans Business Development Council, certifying businesses to do that they're veterans and that they can work with government and state agencies. You also mentor JRTC students and give 50 scholarships around the country, one for every state, to a student to go to college. You also are on the board of 2 universities, including Jackson State, which is in Mississippi. And then the 5th thing is, and I already know you do this, you're active in the local Detroit community doing things, and that's probably only 5 of the 15 things that you do. So with that said, we have 5 minutes. Internet work. Sid, close us out in the briefing room with some words of wisdom to some young people, to some parents, and to some CEOs.
Yeah, I would just say after your journey, because the thing is, our parents passed the baton to us, and which means that we all have a turn, and this was my turn, and all of us have a responsibility and a duty to take our turn and do the best we possibly can with our turn. And I would just say that it's about giving back. And I'm to the stage of my life now where, I've lived my life. I've raised 2 sons. I have 5 grandchildren. And what it is for me now is about, giving back to the community and as much as I can, to try to leave the world just a little bit better.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.